Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Medlock Post radio show, and this is Richard G. Medlock, your host. This is where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. Today is August 9th, 2022, and today's episode is Insanity Prevails. Is it really prevailing? It sure looks like it from the government standpoint, from the Democrat Socialist standpoint. The views and opinions on the Medlock Post radio show are the views and opinions of the host. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services. Ladies and gentlemen, people are mad. They're upset. They're fed up. They're done with this tyranny coming out of Washington, D.C. The Democratic Socialists think that they are in full control of this country. And guess what? Let them keep thinking that. But we, the people, are speaking up and standing up, and we're pushing back. And we're tired of this. What am I referring to? Yeah, the bill that passed the Senate on Sunday, which is nothing but a socialist constitution. It will do nothing to benefit the United States of America or its citizens, and even some of its friendly foreign countries. But yesterday, and of course I record in the morning most of the time, and this hadn't happened yet, but the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, Trump's home. And there is massive blowback on that, and we're going to get into that. And wait till you hear what one of the writers from The Atlantic, which is a massively liberal magazine, what he posted about 9:45 last night, or was it this? Let's see. Yeah, yesterday. He posted it last night. It's laughable what he says, and I'm going to get into that. It is laughable, folks. These guys keep pushing the envelope against America, against Americans, against freedom, and there will be a price to pay. They're going to get knocked out so hard in November, I really believe now, it's not even going to be funny. They won't know which way to turn. All right. Announcement. I in the show yesterday, I talked about Tom Herron, Up With America. I talked about his email to me and my answer concerning elections and what's going on. Well, he called me after he listened to the show yesterday, and he will be on this show, the Medlock Post, Thursday morning, August 11th. We'll record in the morning, and then it will get posted. So you will not want to miss that program. It will be so enlightening, and you will get a really firm grasp of what his organization, Up With America, is really about. And it's phenomenal. And so anyway, Thursday the 11th, Tom Herron will be on this program. I have some quotes here, and it's interesting how I did them, and this was before I heard about the Trump raid by the FBI. But some of these are about economics, but this is the one from Thomas Jefferson. Quote, "No free man shall ever be debarred the use of arms. The strongest reason for the people to retain the right to keep and bear arms is, as a last resort, to protect themselves against tyranny in government." Unquote. And this goes back to the quote by John Locke: when legislators want to take away your freedoms, they're at war with the people. The founding fathers understood this. They set up a system to protect the Constitution and to protect freedoms, and the citizens have the power, we the people. Milton Friedman, a great economist, and some people falsely and very badly, and they failed at it, tried to paint him as a socialist. He was a free market economist. Get government out of the way. Here are some quotes by him, and this was basically pertaining to that so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which is the Socialist Constitution Act, is what it should be called. The Socialist Constitution Act, the SCA. Milton Friedman said, one of the great mistakes is to judge policies and programs by their intentions rather than their results. Absolutely. Amen. Because the title is so misleading. It's a lie. We talked about that yesterday in yesterday's episode. This is episode 34, so that would have been 33. It's all a lie. This is just a bill to pay off the eco-radicals, friends of the administration. That's all it is. Another quote by Friedman. Quote, government has three primary functions. It should provide for military defense of the nation. It should enforce contracts between individuals. It should protect citizens from crimes against themselves or their property. When government, in pursuit of good intentions, tries to rearrange the economy, legislate morality, which we have discussed many times, or help special interest, the cost come in inefficiency, lack of motivation, and loss of freedom. Government should be a referee, not an active player. Unquote. Do you get this? This is what we've been educating about. When government, in pursuit of good intentions, the pursuit of good intentions with the democratic socialist is to gain power and control over everyone and your actions and your money and whatever you do. In lack of motivation, crud, how many people are the government paying right now not to work? How about all these illegals that are coming in? They're on the dole now. They don't have to go get a job. Another quote. A major source of objection to a free economy is precisely that it gives people what they want instead of what a particular group thinks they ought to want. Underlying most arguments against the free market is a lack of belief in freedom itself. So this last quote by Milton Friedman pretty much describes this Inflation Reduction Act, because it gives people what they want instead of what a particular group thinks they ought to want. Okay, so the government's going to give particular groups of people everything they want, which is money, billions and billions of dollars, instead of a free economy giving people what they want. They get it themselves. They earn their money. They go out and spend it. They barter. They get what they want. This is what we're dealing with here, folks. One more quote from Milton Friedman. If you have never read his books on economy, you need to get them. They're great, but they're simple to understand, folks. Not like some economic professors and accounting professors I had in college. He is simple to understand. He's straightforward. There's nothing twisted and turned because he tells the truth. Here's his last quote. Our minds tell us, and history confirms, that the great threat to freedom is the concentration of power. Government is necessary to preserve our freedom. It is an instrument through which we can exercise our freedom. Yet by concentrating power in political hands, it is also a threat to freedom. Even though the men who wield this power initially be of good will, and even though they be not corrupted by the power they exercise, the power will both attract and form men in a different stamp. Unquote. This is what has happened in the United States government, in states' governments, and especially in the blue states. They have power, folks, they don't need. And boy, that came out. Sounds like it is time for a break. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Medlock Post, and this is Richard G. Medlock, your host. Let's get into this raid on Mar-a-Lago. This basically is nothing more than a political assault. They're saying that he has classified documents at his home that he took from the White House. Well, you know what? You know that every president has done that in the last, well, I guess since Truman. Yeah, they take things home. It's their right. And they've been fussing about this ever since he left office. But see, they are so desperate, they are so terrified, they are so scared of Donald Trump and his movement. It's not only just Trump, folks, it's the MAGA movement, the America First movement. They're terrified of that because it destroys everything that they are attempting to do. Donald Trump was successful as a president. The economic prowess that we developed, energy independent. We didn't need to bring anything from another country for energy. And in just a few months, Joe Biden destroyed that. And I'm talking 2 or 3 months. This is dark times in our government, ladies and gentlemen. Dark times. The challenge here, it's hard to understand, is that Trump has been cooperating with all these investigations. He did that when he was president. He gave Robert Mueller and that phony baloney investigation. He gave him access to his staff, his family. They turned over 1 million pages of documents, and they found zero nada. This is just an intimidation act by a desperate democratic socialist government. They're scared to death of this man and the movement. And that's one of the reasons that this Inflation Reduction Act passed, this Build Back Better bill passed, was to come after you and me. Why do you think they're hiring 87,000 IRS agents? It's certainly not to go after the handful of billionaires. Now, this was calling the unprecedented move against a former president dark times for our nation, and saying the action was no different than Watergate and had turned the United States into a broken third world country. And then Trump issued a statement. I want to read his statement. I think he kind of held back, but he made some great points here. This is Trump's statement from yesterday. Quote, "These are dark times for our nation as my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided, and occupied by a large group of FBI agents." Now, let me stop there. It's interesting that they did this when he was not there. I'm surprised that they did it that way. They would want him there to get a photo op of FBI swarming around him, carrying out boxes of so-called evidence, and make him look like a criminal. I'm surprised they did it this way. Either that or they didn't know he wasn't home, and they blew it. All right, back to his statement. "Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before. After working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. It is prosecutorial misconduct, the weaponization of the justice system, and an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024, especially based on recent polls, and who will likewise do anything to stop Republicans and conservatives in the upcoming midterm elections." And we talked about that yesterday. They are desperate. They were desperate in 2020. And they pulled off that election. Yeah, you sound like Trump now. He would. Hey, there were criminal acts. People have been put in jail for messing with votes. So don't come at me and say there wasn't bad stuff going on. Back to his comment. "Such an assault could only take place in broken, third world countries. Sadly, America has now become one of those countries, corrupt at a level not seen before." And I agree with that, folks. Back to him. "They even broke into my safe. What is the difference between this and Watergate, where operatives broke into the Democrat National Committee? Here in reverse, Democrats broke into the house of the 45th President of the United States. The political persecution of Donald J. Trump has been going on for years with the now fully debunked Russia scam, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and so much more. It just never ends. It is political targeting at the highest level. Hillary Clinton was allowed to delete and acid wash 33,000 emails after they were subpoenaed by Congress. Absolutely nothing has happened to hold her accountable. She even took antique furniture and other items from the White House. I stood up to America's bureaucratic corruption. I restored power to the people and truly delivered for our country like we have never seen before. The establishment hated it. Now, as they watch my endorsed candidates win big victories and see my dominance in all polls, they are trying to stop me and the Republican Party once more. The lawlessness, political persecution, and witch hunt must be exposed and stopped. I will continue to fight for the great American people! Exclamation point. This is almost Gestapo-esque. This is crazy. And Americans, this is waking up more and more Americans to the tyranny that is coming out of Washington, D.C. Tyranny, folks. Outright tyranny. Let me let me read this by Dick Morris. It says, "It is particularly urgent for us to elect Donald Trump president again. Our entire country depends upon it. A system of government depends upon it. Here's the demo every banana republic in the world, and I've worked all over the world, arrest their former presidents, they go to jail and they get tried, and inevitably they get found guilty, and they usually get condemned to house arrest. And if we start doing that, the United States, we are sunk." Unquote. That's Dick Morris. I'm sorry for my hesitation here. I'm trying to be nice. The Democratic Socialists, we'll keep it at that, have pushed the envelope over the edge. Sunday with that one bill, and now raiding Trump's home when he is fully cooperating, giving them everything they want. And this is old news. Oh, we want to see if he has classified documents. Well, I think that had already been gone over before this. Now, I would like to know which judge signed this warrant. There had to be a warrant for this. Otherwise, the FBI just broke the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. And whatever they took is inadmissible. But I want to know who the judge is that signed this warrant and what evidence they had to warrant this search. So if somebody can find that out, let's get that public. That judge needs to be made public. Because I bet you it's an Obama-appointed judge. Right? So people are mad. People rushed in Florida, rushed over to Mar-a-Lago to demonstrate out front, and they were interviewed. Fox News was there, and you should listen to them, folks. I've got an article and quotes. They were not happy. Whether it was Trump or anybody else, they were not happy about this. And one guy came from Tampa. He says this is wrong. This is just persecution. They want him out of the way. They're terrified of him. And that's what's going on. And more people are just sitting here going, this is stopping. This has to stop. Now, I thought I had printed it. It's probably on the back of this. Kevin McCarthy, minority leader in the House, who folks is a wimp, made a comment yesterday about this. Here it is. I put it it got stuck in the back of an article. He says, "I've seen enough. The Department of Justice has reached an intolerable state of weaponized politicalization. When Republicans take back the House, we will conduct immediate oversight of this department, follow the facts, and leave no stone unturned. Attorney General Garland, preserve your documents and clear your calendar." Now, Kevin McCarthy, you better mean what you just said. If not, you're going to be held accountable, and I will help get you out of that Speaker of the House seat. If you are elected to that. There's a lot of push amongst the Republicans in the House to get you out of there. I've been trying to get you out of there for a long time. They're talking about Jim Jordan. I've pushed Jim Jordan. He doesn't put up with any crap, folks. He'll go after this stuff. So Kevin McCarthy, you're on notice. And the GOP, Lauren Boebert and some others have put you on notice that you either do your job when you become speaker, or they're going to replace you. They're not going to put up with it. These Republicans are tired of this. Some of the ones in the House that are trying to save America. All right. Let me go to this article by David A. Graham in The Atlantic. Now, The Atlantic is extremely liberal. And he says this. He says, the Mar-a-Lago raid proves the U.S. isn't a banana republic. So this is after he's heard all these comments all over the place. And so he comes out with this article, and if I read the whole thing, you'd laugh through the whole thing. He starts out, a bedrock principle is that no one, get this, folks, this is what he right off the bat, a bedrock principle is that no one, not even the president, much less the former president, is above the law, and if they commit crimes, they must answer for them. That is so laughable. Where are the raids on Hillary Clinton's house? Where are the raids on Hunter Biden's house? Where are the raids on Paul Pelosi's house? Where are the raids on Nancy Pelosi's house? We could go on and on and on, folks, where the Democratic Socialists are just getting away with murder, so to speak, and nothing is happening. If we had a true justice system, Hillary Clinton would be in jail today. Yeah, seriously. Let's see. He says, Trump was always more, this is more crap from a liberal. Trump was always more banana Republican than Reagan or Lincoln Republican. Unlike his presidential predecessors, and despite his open disdain for Latin American and Latin Americas, he often styled himself as a sort of caudillo, trying to rule with an iron fist, circumvent the Constitution and legislature, enlist the military into his schemes, and use the power of the state to further his own electoral and personal fortunes. Really? He just described the Democrat socialist. It should have said, Biden was always more banana republic, etc., etc. You cannot prove, David Graham, one of these things that you just said. You cannot prove one of them. And I challenge you to do it. Yeah, and I'm riled up. And he can't do it. They just put this stuff out there and think everybody's going to believe what the Atlantic says. The Atlantic is one of those mainstream medias that does what the Democrat socialists tell them to do. And we're being told we got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Folks, we are back. This is a Medlock Post radio show, and this is Richard Medlock, your fired up host today, yesterday and today. All right, we got to move on. We need to move on. Let's go back to this crony Inflation Reduction Act, Build Back Better bill that doesn't build anything. Congressman Jeff Duncan from South Carolina put out a statement yesterday, and then I'm going to read his statement and then add some things to it. Americans are in the middle of a recession as they struggle with surging inflation and historic gas prices. Instead of addressing the runaway government spending that fuels inflation, Democrats are forcing a bill through Congress that will increase taxes on Americans to fund their socialist, rush-to-green agenda. The so-called Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 will actually make inflation worse by spending billions of dollars on the radical environmentalist left green priorities. See, they're crony friends. Of the destruction measures in this package, here are some of the worst provisions and a few of the many reasons I oppose this package. 1. $369 billion in giveaways to green special interests that will increase our reliance on China. Here's that China word again. Again, here's $369 billion being given to their crony supporters. And nothing's going to come of this, folks. Number 2, weaponizes the IRS, and we've talked about that. And he says to hire tens of thousands of IRS agents, which would make the IRS employ more bureaucrats than the Pentagon, State Department, FBI, and Border Patrol combined. Folks, Tom Heron and I talked about this yesterday afternoon. We should be putting 87,000 Border Patrol agents at the border. We need the Republicans, this was Tom, we need the Republicans putting the bill on the table today, yesterday, Sunday, putting 80,000 Border Patrol agents at the border. But that's not the Democrat socialist, the tyranny socialist. It's not part of their program. They want the borders open to bring in all these young, able men to do whatever. Number 3, institute socialist price controls on drugs. We talked about that yesterday. Number 4, manipulates the tax code in the name of environmental justice, hurting our economy and costing jobs in the process. Manipulates the tax code. Yes, indeed. And I'll give you the number on the taxes in a minute. 5, creates $40 billion in government-run, taxpayer-liable climate change loans. That's that National Climate Bank. Allocates $500 million for the Department of Homeland Security to carry out sustainability and environmental programs instead of responding to the southern border crisis as what the Homeland Security is supposed to be doing. So now they're going to be a environmental policeman. 7, expands Obamacare and the subsidies there. It's ridiculous. 8, increases taxes on sources of energy, which will further increase fuel costs. 9, funds the EPA to push corporate climate action commitments, supporting ESG, environmental, social, and governance scores. We talked about that a couple of episodes ago. 10, radicalizes the Department of Agriculture by funneling $20 billion through USDA for the left's green agenda. They're going after farmers and ranchers. We told you that yesterday, and we'll keep telling you that. 11, allocates $3 billion for Department of Transportation projects to address the claim that infrastructure is racist. Folks, tell me how a paved road is racist. How a bridge over a river or an overpass is racist. This is so phony baloney. So let's go back to some other things that came out after the bill passed yesterday or Sunday that didn't come out till after the program when I recorded. The CBO says the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, will take 1.2% away from GDP. That means it's going to lower production 1.2% a year. So the last 2 quarters, first and second quarter of this year, we were negative. Second quarter was 0.9% negative. So if we add this to it, now it's down 2.1% negative. So this will hurt the economy. Who are some industries being hurt by the IRA? Manufacturing, steel, coal will be demolished. 12 billion more taxes on the energy industry. Every time they pump a barrel of oil, they have to pay a tax on it. 300 million taken away from the pharmaceutical industry and given to the non-productive green energy industry. $250 billion loan package to green energy cronies of the Democratic Socialists, i.e. Solyndra. Small businesses are going to get eaten up. I'm going to read a statement from the NFIB about the bill in just in a minute. All businesses, small businesses, all businesses. Energy companies will be taxed for everything they produce. $613 billion in new taxes, and over half of those taxes will affect middle and lower income people. You think inflation's bad now? Increased debt by $30 billion. Massive Obamacare subsidies. Reduce or eliminate, this is what they want to do, reduce or eliminate fossil fuel energy by 2013. So when you turn on your light switch to turn on your lights, by 2013 it should not be fueled. That energy should not come from fossil fuels. Windmills, solar panels. How about nuclear energy? Let's build some nuclear power plants, folks. That's the cleanest energy out there. Again, the reports on everything they're doing across the board is negative. The only people that like this are the Democratic Socialists and their cronies in the green energy business. They're going to make billions of dollars for doing nothing. And all these tax credits to put into energy efficiency things. Windmills, folks. Windmills. It's just crazy. Now, the National Federation of Independent Business, I should say Insanity, that's the name of the program, Insanity Prevails, within the Democratic Socialist. They are so power hungry and they are so afraid of losing it. They know they're losing in November and they won't have this power again. But they're just making it worse for themselves, folks. And let them just keep doing it. The National Federation of Independent Business, I used to be a member. I love this organization. The nation's leading small business advocacy organization released a statement on the IRA of 2022. Quote, with high inflation, workforce shortages, and supply chain disruptions, small businesses are facing persistent economic headwinds, said Kevin Kuhlman, NFIB Vice President of Federal Government Relations. Small business owners avoided the worst-case scenario of direct tax increases on their businesses, such as the new 3.8% tax on business income. But the direct tax was replaced with what is likely to be an indirect tax by doubling the size of the Internal Revenue Service and stressing enforcement, audits, and examinations over compliance, assistance, and resolving backlogs. NFIB is disappointed that the Senate rejected amendments to protect small business owners from increased enforcement actions and made changes that made the bill more problematic for small businesses, including tax and health care changes that limit flexibility and increase cost. Do you understand that? These 87,000 new IRS agents are going to go out, and it costs money to get audited. You got to go hire an attorney, your CPA, and you got to pay them, and you go through all this. They're going to slap more regulations on us, and this all goes back to the ESGs, environment, social, and governance scoring system. They're going to come out, look at your business, and rate you, and if you don't rate within their parameters, you're going to get hammered. This is Gestapo-esque, folks. This is tyranny, and it's growing. Let's finish their statement. Inflation remains a top concern of small business owners, but despite the bill title, skepticism remains whether the package will address this top concern and work to reduce inflation, Kuhlman added. As expectations for better business conditions is currently at a historic low in the 48-year history of NFIB survey, a better approach for small businesses would be legislative and regulatory. Certainty would be legislative and regulatory certainty, including no direct or indirect tax increases on business and relief from regulations and mandates that increase the cost of doing business. Unquote. He hits the nail on the head. How many businesses, especially mom and pop businesses, they can't afford all this stuff? They're going to go out of business. They're being forced to raise their payrolls, and that's not keeping up with inflation. Sales are down. Their costs are up. This is total chaos, but this is what the Democratic Socialists want. They want chaos out there. And speaking of chaos, I think I'm in chaos. Okay. All right. It is break time, and we will be right back in just a couple of minutes. And enjoy the break. And you're listening to One Last Ride. And that's not referring to the last ride of the Medlock Post radio show, which you're listening to. And I'm your host, Richard G. Medlock. That's the name of the song that you're listening to, our break music and ending music. And Days of Glory is our introduction music. It is a patriotic song. You can look it up. Newt Gingrich had an interesting comment about this bill. He says, quote, "I am fascinated by this big government socialist machine. You know, I once upon a time let me start. You know, I once upon a time was Speaker of the House. What Pelosi has done and what Schumer has done is unimaginable. They have a real machine for the first time in American history. It doesn't matter what you put up. You're going to get 50 Democrats plus Kamala Harris. They're going to get a slight majority in the House. I wouldn't have thought 2 years ago that it was theoretically possible to take this narrow majority and move this money to really dumb left-wing ideas. But they're doing it because they have become a true machine. And by the way, the machine will eventually decide who the nominee is, and it will not be Joe Biden." Unquote. And this machine is a socialist system machine. I named it that yesterday. They have a socialist system. They did this with Obamacare. They didn't care what it said. Remember Pelosi said, "Oh, we have to pass it to find out what's in it"? They just wanted a structure of a system that they could operate to control the healthcare system in the United States of America. And they got it. And thanks to John McCain, we still have it. Because of his traitor vote promising Donald Trump he would support killing Obamacare, and that he was the last one to vote, and it was 49-50, or it was well, what it was, his vote killed. Oh yeah, it was 49 Republican, 50 Democrat. Or no, it was 50 Republican, 49 Democrat, and he voted with the Democrats, which killed the bill. But anyway, he went against his promise because of his hatred of Donald Trump. And I still today cannot get over people that hate Trump as a person for whatever reason, but put that hatred over the well-being of the United States of America. I still cannot get over that fact, that you're that short-sighted, and other things which I won't mention. Now, Donald Trump has come out with a 42 policy proposal at the America First Policy Institute last week. It was a powerful speech, and he attacked the problems of this country head on. He attacked law and order. He wants to restore law and order. He wants to get the funding back to the police. I'm not going to go through all of these 42. You can look them up online. They're powerful. He wants to get stop and frisk policies back in place. We have to give our police back their authority, resources, and power, and then leave our police alone. Give them back their respect. Give qualified immunity and other protections back to our police officers. Folks, these are things that are resonating with America right now because of all the violence in the street and the lack of prosecutors and judges. No bail. Oh, you just murdered somebody? Okay, your trial is such and such. We'll see you. That is literally taking place in blue states. And 2 or 3 days later, that same person has killed somebody else. And guess what? Oh, you're charged with murder. We'll see you at your new trial. Really? This is what's happening, folks. People are tired of it. They're tired of BLM and Antifa and organizations like that running these cities. They're tired of liberal politicians and governors and mayors ignoring the problems. In Portland, Oregon, they've done away with enforcing drug laws. People are dying on the streets from overdoses. Drug dealers are selling them right in the open now because they know they're not going to get arrested. And if they get arrested, they're going to be released. It's no big deal. And they sell them drugs if people take them to dying on the street. Businesses are shutting down in Portland because customers are afraid to go in that area. Employees are afraid to come to work. Drug dealers sit in their restaurants and their businesses selling drugs. These are things that Trump is addressing here. He wants to stop gangs. The United States government has done nothing to stop gangs. He's talking about bringing in the National Guard. Hey, you're not going to, Chicago, you're not going to enforce the laws there? Well, we're going to come in and do it. Law and order. He's going to get all these radical and racist prosecutors that have been put in place by George Soros out of there. If you don't want to enforce the laws, we will come in and do it for you. When you have no rule of law, chaos is rampant, and the citizens pay the price. He's addressing homelessness. It's a big deal in America. He wants to bring back long-term mentally ill care and institutions and get them their help. Drug addicts, get them the help they need. Years ago, they shut down all these mental hospitals, and they didn't have anywhere to go, so they went to the streets. And America is paying the price. Housing. Let's support them. Let's get them the help they need. Wants Congress to pass a landmark package of public health and public safety and mental health care reforms. He proposed that we must restore the age-old right to self-defense. Well, Mr. Trump, we have that, but these prosecutors want to come after the victims, the innocent victims, the homeowners, the shop owners that are protecting themselves and want to go after them. We saw this in New York. You know that guy that they charged for defending himself? And the prosecutor finally, well, yeah, I've seen the video. Better let him go. He's had to move out of the city. His business is gone. All he was doing was protecting his property. And because of liberal crazy insanity, he has nothing now. Concealed carry reciprocity, which means if you have a concealed carry weapon in one state, you can take it into another. Not all states have that reciprocity. He tried to get that done the first time as president. And Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House at that time, would not cooperate one way with President Trump. He wants to stop perverted sexualization of our minor children in schools. He wants to stop sex trafficking, which he was doing a pretty good job of as president. He wants to single out these sickos who are forcing sexual contact or content on kindergartners. They need to be held accountable. Border security. Do we need to say more? No. He wants Republicans to start laying the groundwork to implement legitimate border security in September's spending bill. Get off your seats, your fannies, GOP, and get something done. So he wants to increase the number of ICE officers, etc., when it comes to border security. He wants to go after those that have overstayed after their visa expired. Do you know how many people over the many years they get a visa and then they disappear? And we don't do anything about it. Trump wants to do something about it. This is what he's looking at. Law and order. Good economy. Stop China. Stop crippling our American families. Become energy independent again. This is his platform. It's a strong platform. And we need to get behind this. Whether it's from him or any other person. This is a strong platform. Universal voter ID. Proof of citizenship to receive the child tax credit to stop subsidizing illegal immigration. That's what he's talking about. You know all these tax credits they paid out last year? Most of it went to illegal immigrants. They're not even citizens, folks, and we're subsidizing them to come here illegally. All right. Folks, I have a quote by Trey Gowdy to wrap up the show today. He's a former congressman from South Carolina, my congressman, my district, former prosecuting attorney, federal prosecuting attorney, never lost a case. I think would make a great attorney general. He doesn't mess around. And he said this, quote, "There will come a day where you will cry out for the enforcement of the law. There will come a day where you will long for the law to be the foundation of this republic. So, you be careful what you do with the law today, because if you weaken it today, you weaken it forever." Unquote. What he has said has come about. He only said this 2-3 years ago. This is happening today. And we need to be careful this road of socialism and tyranny that we have started going down. We the people have the power to stop it with our votes in November and even before that. Get on board, folks. And that, folks, is a Medlock Post for today. May God bless America.